everybody, JayC here, and I'm at it with another live stream, and I want to welcome everybody. Looks like we've got about 12 people starting out, so again, welcome. Um, Chime in the comment section, let me know you're here. I'll give you a shout out. Um, I am trying, basically today is Wednesday, and I'm going to try and stick to a live stream schedule of Wednesdays and Sundays. I'm terrible about schedules, so I won't swear I'll be able to stick to it, but that's really what I'm shooting for. So probably around 7:30, 8 o'clock in the evening Eastern time. With the Wednesday live stream kind of dedicated to talking about things like, Disney Plus shows, the latest episodes of whatever's going on. Right now is WandaVision. Next month is going to be starting Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Salome, everybody is joining us. So I just thought, I like to talk about movies and TV shows and stuff. So I kind of felt like I would make the Wednesday live stream kind of dedicated towards that. And then Sundays will be more about talking about action figures and things like that. So, it's not to say we won't veer off on, side subjects and things like that. But that's really kind of where I'm trying to keep the focus on the Wednesday is the entertainment stuff. So let's see. Actually, I got a second. If you see me looking off to the side here, it's because I've got a screen where I can more easily see you guys in your comments. So, all figures considered. What's up, Michael? Good to see ya. Blake's in the house. What's up, man? Classic action figures in the house. Kaz2323, Felix, Osman, Jerry, Meech98, welcome. Phil's in the house. And Everett's here as well. So thanks once again for joining. Now, this Sunday, we're not going to do it every Sunday, but this Sunday I am going to be doing a trivia contest. Now, originally I was going to do for $100 store credit to Big Bad Toy Store, but this morning I made the trip to Target, and to my surprise, I found not one, but two Cobra Vipers on the shelf. Now, one I'm keeping because I wanted a second Cobra Viper. I had originally gotten one when they first came out, but I've been looking for another one, so because I always like to have two for the army builders. So I'm going to keep one myself, but I'm going to give this one away on Sunday because I know a lot of people are still having a hard time finding it. So we're going to do that, and then I also happened to end up with a second one of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Krangs. And the reason why I have two of these is because originally I had Omni had hooked me up with one, and he mailed it to me from California, but it got lost in the mail. This was one of the ones that he had sent before Christmas, and it literally didn't show up until like a week or so ago. And literally the day before this showed up in the mail, Target had put them up on their website, and I managed to grab one from there. And so I could take this, I could take one of these back to Target and return it, get my money back. But I figure since I have two, and while the Splinter and the Baxter is pretty easy to get because it's still available on the website, Target's website as of right now. But the Krang is kind of hard, so I figure we'll give that away as well. So going to be doing some giveaways on Sunday with a trivia contest, so just something to look forward to. All right, so let's talk about WandaVision, and I do want to warn you, today's main focus is last Friday's episode of WandaVision. I also wanted to talk about the Falcon Winter Soldier trailer that debuted during the Super Bowl on Sunday, and then also some news on the Spider-Man 3 front I thought we could go over today. But I do want to warn you that, there are, we're going to be talking about events that actually happened in, like the WandaVision show. So if you haven't been watching it and you don't want to be spoiled, you probably don't want to keep watching today's video. because we are going to be talking about things that actually happened in the episode. It's been, it aired last Friday, so I figure if you've actually got Disney Plus and been watching the show, you've probably already watched the episode by now. And if you go on Instagram at all, you've probably seen all the spoilers for it. But just be warned that this video is going to have spoilers from the latest episode of WandaVision. Holy cats, says Kaz. Nice. Yep, Salome. I keep forgetting I set up the screen here so I don't have to, like, I'm usually like over here trying to read the comments. Jonathan's in the house. What's up? Michael says now we know Zemo's plan. Yeah, we're going to get into the trailer, so we'll be talking about that definitely. Let's see. Everyone wants to know, will Mayfix do 6-inch Justice League Snyder Cut? Oh, I assume you mean Snyder Cut figures. I don't know. Maybe, probably like Doomsday, probably like Darkseid and such. I doubt they're gonna do like Superman and such again since they already did those from the from the first run. But yeah, McFarlane's gonna be doing those. Jerry says, why Fox QS, not MCU? Oh, why Fox Quicksilver, not MCU? All right, Jerry. So my theory. Okay, so obviously the big reveal at the end of episode 5 of WandaVision was that the 20th Century Fox version of Quicksilver showed up at Wanda's house, and not the Age of Ultron version that we all know from the MCU. So why is that? Well, the best I can figure, if you recall earlier in the episode when Wanda is explaining to her kids about the dog who ended up dying, how she couldn't bring the dog back to life, she, I think the point of that was to say she can't actually, her power is not so great that she can actually bring dead people back to life. Obviously Vision is a little different since he's not a real human being, but I think that's essentially what they were setting up. So obviously, throughout, in this episode, her kids were asking about her brother. In the previous episode, she had been asked about, Quicksilver. So he's been brought up multiple times. She's been thinking about him. She misses her brother. And I think her subconscious, I don't even think she was aware of doing it. I think this was something on the subconscious level because, she was kind of surprised when the doorbell rang. And I think that was legitimate. So I think her subconscious went and got the next, since she couldn't bring back her actual dead brother from Age of Ultron back to life, her subconscious went and did the next best thing. It went and tapped into the multiverse and pulled this Quicksilver, which of course we all know from the 20th Century Fox movies, pulled this Quicksilver into our universe. So my guess is, and obviously this is my guess, but my guess is she created this crack in the multiverse, which will continue to expand and is going to play out in the next Spider-Man movie and then the Doctor Strange movie, which is obviously titled The Multiverse of Madness. So I think Wanda inadvertently created a crack that is only going to get worse. But that is why I think we're seeing the 20th Century Fox Quicksilver and not the MCU Age of Ultron Quicksilver, because he died and she just doesn't have the ability to bring him back to life. Jonathan says they better have the MCU version at least cameo, or that's a missed opportunity. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they could do like a flashback or something, but I don't think they're going to bring the actual actor back because, I think, he's dead. Agnes, Michael says Agnes could be involved with what's going on. I think Agnes is, and I was having this discussion on Facebook, and I forget who said it, but I don't know. They might be watching, but they suggested that Agnes might be the character Agatha Harkins, I believe is her name in the comics. She's this old lady that was has some slight mystical powers of her own, and she would babysit the kids and stuff. I think Agnes's husband is really the person who's kind of pulling Wanda's strings. I think Wanda is the one primarily responsible for creating this world and everything. I think she so desperately wanted to bring Vision back that she created this world to do that. But I think somebody is definitely kind of steering her in certain directions. And I think it's Agnes's husband, which has been, I think, mentioned in every single episode, but we've never seen. So I really feel like, and whether that's Mephisto, I mean, I know a lot of people think Mephisto is the one that's kind of, behind the scenes, pulling all the strings. And that's certainly, I mean, if you read the comics, Mephisto does seem like the most logical choice, because if you know what happened to her kids in the comic books, then, it seems likely. And I don't think she created the kids. In the last episode, uh, I think when she tried to make the kids use her powers to make the kids quit crying and she couldn't. I think that's because, the kids are something else. And in the comics, the kids are essentially essence of Mephisto's soul that got split up when he fought Franklin Richards in a previous battle, and so they were actually part of Mephisto. So I could see them doing something like that here, which again kind of gives credence to the whole Mephisto is the one behind the scenes. Um, to me, that I mean, it could be an infinite number of people. It could be Kang, it could be Immortus, it could be, I don't think it's Magneto. I've seen some people suggest it's Magneto. I don't think it's Magneto, but I do think it's somebody, that's pretty powerful, that is pulling the strings. And whether we actually get to see who's behind the scenes by the end of the season, or whether that's going to be something that plays out in the Doctor Strange movie, I don't know, but I do think Agnes has a connection with her husband, of whoever that is. Will they make Marvel Legends of WandaVision? Joshua asks. You guys ask me that in every video. So there is a wave of Disney Plus based Marvel Legends coming. I think is going to be out around June timeframe, and there is a version of Wanda and Vision in that wave. I don't know what exactly they're going to be based on, but yes, there is going to be a Wanda and Vision figure released in the first wave of Disney Plus themed figures, which also includes the likes of U.S. Agent, Falcon, Winter Soldier, Loki. Don't know what the build a figure is, but yes, they are getting figures. Whether they're black and white 60s versions, 50s versions, 70s versions, 80s versions, Halloween costume versions, their regular costume versions, which would be kind of weak since we've already gotten those. I don't know, but again, there is going to be some type of Vision and Scarlet Witch figure released in that wave. A dead Vision, black and white Vision with the mind gem pulled out of his head would be kind of an interesting figure. I'm sure somebody's going to do that. Funko Pop is probably going to do one. I could even maybe see Hot Toys do one. Martinez says, I don't want Wanda to turn evil. I don't think she's going to turn evil. I do think she's going to go off the deep end, per se, for a while. Probably my feeling is by the end of this series, she is going to kind of go a little batty, especially if she loses her kids, which is what happened in the comic books. So, but I think eventually she will regain her sanity and break free of whatever influence is kind of pulling her strings. But I have a feeling that's probably not going to play out until like the Doctor Strange movie. Michael says it won't be Kang. He's going to be in the Ant-Man Wasp movie. That's true. Mike says it'd be so stupid if they didn't come to a conclusion. Well, I mean, I think they'll bring some things to a conclusion, but they're definitely, they're going to leave us hanging on something. So, like, we may see who has been pulling the strings. We may see what happens to Vision. Will Vision, one of the things I think we're going to start to see play out is Vision as he realizes, this place they're in is not real. He's going to try and get out, and my guess is that's going to play out till the end, the season finale, and what actually happens once he goes through that barrier that Wanda created. Will he just collapse and die? I don't know. My feeling is with Vision that eventually, and whether this is in the series or plays out in one of the movies, he will get rebuilt where he's pretty much emotionless like they did in the comics, maybe even do like the all-white version, and then eventually he'll slowly build back his emotions and his humanity. But I think that is something that will end up playing out. Something along those lines will end up playing out in the movie, or in the MCU. All figures considered said, yeah, GameStop had the 2-pack. That was just a reissue of the old set that was originally a Toys R Us exclusive. But yeah. Felix says he's looking forward to the McFarlane Snyder figures. I am hoping we get to see those soon. I keep, like, any day now, I feel like those are going to be revealed. I mean, the movie's going to come out next month. We got to see that. I don't have it handy to show you guys, but I'm assuming probably any of you who care have already seen it online. The images of the Jared Leto Joker, as he's going to appear in the Snyder Cut movie, which obviously he wasn't in the original Justice League movie. Has the long hair. Looks, to me, it looks very much like the Heath Ledger version of Joker. Phil says it's Nightmare. That's a possibility. I mean, Nightmare, has a connection with Doctor Strange. But okay, so another big thing that I think a lot of people maybe missed in the last episode was when Monica brought up the that she knew somebody was a famous aerodynamic engineer. Now, if you go to Google and you do a search for famous Marvel Comics aerodynamic engineers, the two names that pop up first are Reed Richards and Victor Von Doom. Now, I know some other people think there another possibility of the person Monica was thinking was this character named Blue Marvel, which I'm actually not familiar with at all. He's a more recent character, so I really don't know much about that one. Though I did a little reading, and it looks like he does have some connection with the Monica character, the Captain Marvel Photon character. So that's a possibility, I guess. But to me, I feel more likely. I mean, to me, Victor Von Doom, is especially if Mephisto is the one that is actually pulling the strings here. To me, makes the most sense because Doom, has an affinity for magic. He's really smart like Reed and Tony Stark for the mechanical stuff, but he's also, has a magic level of knowledge almost close to Doctor Strange. And the reason why he learned magic was because his mother's soul was captured by Mephisto, and he was looking for a way to free his mother's soul from Mephisto. So there's a connection there between Doom, Victor Von Doom, and Mephisto that I could see playing out here. Also, he could help rebuild Vision. He's got the knowledge to help rebuild Vision. So, I mean, Reed obviously is another choice I could see them pulling in, but I really almost feel like Victor Von Doom, bring in Doom first and then have Reed and the Fantastic Four, follow after Doom. I don't know, I mean, that would be a big reveal for a Disney Plus show, but I would not be surprised if either Reed Richards or Victor Von Doom show up like in the final episode of WandaVision. Now, Victor Von Doom as, not in his ironclad outfit and everything, but as like an aerodynamic before he becomes, Doom, Doctor Doom, is how I would envision him first making his appearance. TRKOB says he highly recommends I check out the new FMV game on stream. Not for Brock. All right. Noob Master 60 says McFarlane is going to make Darkseid very tall. Well, he's listed as one of their what they're calling a mega fig, which I assume is like a deluxe figure. So I don't know how tall he's going to be, but he should be bigger than a normal size figure. Blake says the astronaut program was grounded by Sword. Yes, it was, because obviously everything that happened with Avengers Endgame, um, which is I don't know if that's supposed to be a hint for Fantastic Four or not, but yeah. Jack says the Bucks won group hug in the showers tonight. I I'm not a fan of Tampa Bay or St. Louis, but I figured even though I think Brady's a little pompous, but there's no denying his talent, and so my money was on the Bucks winning. Not that I actually bet, but that's who I had to pick winning the Super Bowl, and they won it very easily. So Osmond also thinks that she has her powers, but she doesn't know. I assume you're talking about Monica. I don't know if she has her powers, but I think something happened to her that whether it's when she got pushed through the wall or whatever, I don't know. But yes, I mean obviously those brain scans coming up blank is going to be is hinting to something. I mean that's pretty clear. So we'll have to see how that plays out. And I don't know, she seems to have a problem with Captain Marvel too. When they brought up Captain Marvel's name, she didn't seem happy. So I'm not sure why that is. Warhawk, what's up? Henry G, wouldn't you expect Doom to already be Doom at this time in the MCU? No, no, I don't. I mean, no. I if there was a if there was a dictator like Doctor Doom already in existence in the world, I think we would have heard of it already in the MCU. So to me, it makes more sense. I mean, they could play it off, but to me, it makes more sense if we're getting maybe younger versions of Doom and Reed and them, and we kind of see get kind of their origins going on here and build up is how I kind of see it. I mean, I could be totally wrong. That's just purely my speculation, but Jerry says deluxe, not C to B. Sorry, Jerry, I missed your first part of that. MK Solid says the McFarlane Baron from Dune is a mighty peg warmer. Yeah, I mean, I've seen all those Doom figures at Target, but of course the movie hasn't even come out, and I can't say Dune is a movie that I think is going to instill a lot of action figure collectors, so I'm not too surprised there. Blake says she didn't bat an eye when her scans were all off. Well, but they kind of thought that the machine was maybe just broken, so and she obviously had other things on her mind, so I don't think she's aware. I mean, she might be, I don't know, but that just may be because they honestly thought it was broken and she had other things on her mind. She figured she was probably fine and stuff, but I don't think that was necessarily an indication that she knew she had powers or something. Noob says we didn't get any trailers for Venom 2. No. I mean, I wasn't expecting it. I knew there were. I saw some places reporting we were going to get like four Marvel trailers and a Venom 2 trailer and stuff. And I mean, being is that a lot of these movies, I think, are, in their current release dates are very hesitant. I don't think there's this huge push to spend all that money on trailers to show during the Super Bowl this year, because they really, last year they did the Black Widow trailer, and of course the movie is yet to come out. So, and whether Black Widow gets delayed again, or whether they just decide to go on and release it straight to home release, remains to be seen. But I'm not surprised they really, that these studios didn't spend the huge amounts of money that's required to get an ad going on the Super Bowl. Falcon and Winter Soldier is a given because it's on TV, so they knew that was definitely coming, and so that's why they did it. But of course, they didn't even actually play the full trailer on TV. They made you go to YouTube to watch the full trailer. They just gave you a short version during the Super Bowl. Osman says, on the Justice League figures, I'm glad we're getting new figures because Mattel's versions are very underwhelming. Mind you, I have them all. Yeah, I have all the Mattel ones too. I'm interested to see what McFarlane does. So many Marvel shows this year. I can't wait to watch them all. I agree. I mean, I'm excited. I can't wait for Falcon and Winter Soldier. But before we get into Falcon and Winter Soldier, let's finish up our discussion of WandaVision. So the last point I really wanted to kind of touch on tonight was, what does a 20th Century Fox Quicksilver mean for the MCU? Uh, is that just a one-off thing, or do they plan on bringing over all the MC or all the Fox actors from the X-Men universe essentially over to the MCU? I kind of, when it was, I always figured they were going to just start over from scratch. But now that we've got, Quicksilver from the Fox universe, it makes me wonder. I really would love to see it. I've said this before. I'd love to see Hugh Jackman at least for a short while as Wolverine, get him in an actual Wolverine costume for once. I would love to see that. So if that opens the door to that possibility, and I know Hugh Jackman has said he's done with Wolverine, but you never say never in Hollywood. If the money's enough, I'm sure he would come back. So I'm kind of hoping for that. But I am curious whether, Hugh Jackman comes back or not. I am curious if they're going to bring over, I mean, obviously Deadpool, but Deadpool is a character that breaks the, fourth dimension wall. So, I mean, he literally could just step back and forth as he wants. He doesn't need some special thing to really bring him into the MCU. But I'm curious to whether we see other Fox characters make the jump over to the actual MCU or not. MK, so I know what you're saying about a younger Wolverine, but I don't know. I mean, Wolverine's ageless. I mean, you're right. They could probably bring him back for a couple movies, but long term wise, I don't, he's old enough that he wouldn't. So I don't know. But I don't know how they would do it. But I still, that's just something I would love to see. And like, I got to thinking about like I rewatched the other day. I rewatched Civil War, Infinity War, and Endgame, and I got to thinking about the gem. So and the whole, where are the gems now? Like, and what is their actual status? And the whole way Marvel's kind of set up the time travel thing is still a little confusing to me. But like, take Gamora. So they killed off Gamora, though I don't know. Did those people, did Gamora and Natasha actually die, or did they just end up? Did their souls just end up in the soul gem? Because at the end of Infinity War, we saw the young Gamora, the child Gamora, talking to Thanos inside the soul gem, and there's that, in the Loki trailer that they showed not too long ago, you know, I still say that looked like Natasha from the back that was sitting there in that trailer. So I don't know if they're actually dead or if they're just if their souls are stuck in the soul gem somehow, which means, theoretically, I guess you could somehow get them out. But like with Gamora, it seems like they just they brought the Gamora from the past to the present, and then she just kind of went off on her own. So they didn't bring back Gamora back to life. They just kind of reset the character, and she's going to have to be reintroduced to the Guardians and everything, which I'm sure will play out in either the next Thor movie or the next Guardians of the Galaxy movie. But would they do something similar to that with Natasha or what? You know, when Steve Rogers took the gems back to their original points where they were removed from time, most of them make sense. But like, what did he do with the Mind Stone? Did he go back to right before Vision was killed? And and well, now I guess on the Mind Stone he took it because they got the Mind Stone actually before Vision had even gotten it. They got it from the staff during the first Avengers movie. So that's when Steve would have taken that one back. But the Soul Gem, I assume he would have. Obviously they got it. Natasha sacrificed herself for Clint to get it. So I assume that Steve took the gem right to that point, which to me would almost say that Natasha wouldn't have sacrificed herself at that point. And so is there a Natasha that's living somewhere? Not obviously the one that died in Endgame would still be dead, but when Steve went back before that, would that have created essentially an alternate universe version of Natasha that's now walking around somewhere? I don't know. That gets confusing to me, but I mean, I feel pretty confident that we will see. I mean, obviously the Black Widow movie takes place, sometime in the past, but I have a feeling that we will eventually see Natasha return to the modern time period alive again at some point. Hey, Toy Chase says he can't stay on the chat, but have a great night. You too, man. Shimsel, I think that's how you pronounce this, is Deadpool's a given. Yeah, well, we know Deadpool. We know there's another Deadpool movie coming. They've already officially announced it. It's going to have an R rating. It's going to star, same actor and everything. So, Blake says, I use the gems to destroy the gems. Well, that's what Thanos did. Kinda. John says, a deleted scene shows an adult Morgan with Tony Stark after the snap. So I don't know how that works. Yeah. I mean, I also feel eventually Tony Stark will return in some way. I know, again, Robert Downey Jr. says he's done with Iron Man, but I don't believe it. Just like Chris Evans said he was done, but it looks like he's definitely returning. All right, so I've got queued up the trailer for those who maybe didn't see it or wants to see it again. So let's take a look at the Falcon Winter Soldier trailer.
So, who would like to start? Mr. Barnes, why does Sam aggravate you?
15 seconds to drop. So what's our plan? Great. Superheroes.
Mandapore
cannot be allowed to exist. I have no intention to leave my work unfinished. start.
Buck, I have a plan. Oh, yeah? What is it?
Is you ready?
Here we go again, huh?
We've been grinding hard on the job. Can't take that from us. Are you ready? Is you ready? You said you ready. Ready? Is you ready? Are you ready? Is you ready?
That little girl kicked your ass.
See? That wasn't so hard.
Are you ready? Is you ready?
Okay.
You say you ready.
What are you doing?
Whole squad ready.
Are you having a staring contest?
Are you ready? Is you ready?
Just blink. Sweet Jesus. I mean, how old are you?
So there you have it, the new Falcon and Winter Soldier trailer. I'm very excited for this one, even more so than WandaVision. As I've said many times, U.S. Agent is one of my favorite characters, and he's going to be making his debut, of course, as the new Captain America, at least starting out, which we saw him running. You know, like that scene where he was running, I guess on the football field. Originally, I thought that was like a tribute to Captain America, and it was just like somebody dressed up. I didn't realize that was U.S. Agent, but now I'm pretty sure that's, you know, Johnny Walker as Captain America coming out from the back. And then, of course, we got the new poster that was released at the same time. And in that poster, you know, we get a look at U.S. Agent, or again, Captain America. John Walker is Captain America. He's in the middle there. I've zoomed it up because you can't see it that good unless you zoom it up. But like I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be dark blue. But if that was all black with the red highlights and everything, to me that would be definitely a pretty cool version of U.S. Agent. So even if that's supposed to be blue, I think eventually it'll end up being black. So can't wait for that. Tom says the echo. That's because I had two mics on, so you could hear the trailer and me talking. MK Solid says, you know, Chris Evans watched the trailer and felt left out big time. Well, I can't believe that Chris Evans isn't going to show up at some point during the Falcon and Winter Soldier series. You know, old man Steve is I'm sure going to end up, and I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up, you know, taking on that kind of Commander Rogers persona like we saw in the comics when he was old. So, you know, I think we will see him pop up at some point in the series. Warhawk says, any reports of the Legends Quicksilver hitting Walgreens yet? You mean Silver Surfer? Not sure what Quicksilver you're thinking hitting Walgreens. But Silver Surfer actually just today was put up on the Walgreens website. Last time I checked it, it sold out. But if you go to Marvelous News, there's a story about it with a link so you can bookmark it. And I'm sure it will be back in stock. If that's what you're talking about, the Silver Surfer, the fallen Silver Surfer. But yes, and people who were able to get it, it started to ship out already. They already started getting shipping notices. I suspect stores will start getting them any day now as well. But yes, Quicksilver is hitting Walgreens as we speak. Michael says that wasn't Nat in the Loki trailer. I don't know, man. I think it was. It looked like her. Henry G, is U.S. Agent a bad guy in the comics? Not too familiar with the character. I obviously know who he is, but not familiar with his story. Henry, well, he started out as a bad guy. His first alter ego was known as Super Patriot, and he had there's this wrestling league of super like powered people that he was part of, or the person who would give those wrestlers their strength and stuff gave John Walker his strength. That's basically what his power is he's got super strength. Like in the movies, Steve Rogers actually has enhanced strength, but in the comics, at least originally, Steve Rogers was not really, he was the strongest a human being could be without superpowers, but he didn't actually have enhanced super strength. But John Walker did. And so he was much stronger than Steve Rogers, but obviously not as a skilled a fighter and such. But essentially, John Walker thought that Steve Rogers was outdated, his line of thinking was outdated, and he thought he would be a much better symbol for America. And so he ended up clashing as Super Patriot. He clashed with Captain America. And then shortly afterwards, the government decided to strip Steve Rogers of the Captain America persona, the costume, and the shield, and they gave it to John Walker, who then became Captain America for a while. And then his sister got killed by an alt-right group called the Watchdogs, and he kind of went crazy, and he basically killed them all in a psychotic rage. And then it turned out that the Red Skull, who was disguised as a congressman, was really manipulating things all along, and was the one that actually had Steve Rogers stripped of his costume and shield and such. Now, during that time that John Walker was being Captain America, Steve went to Tony Stark and got a new costume, which is actually the U.S. agent costume, the black one with the red and white stripes on the chest, and took on the persona known simply as the Captain. And Tony gave him a shield that wasn't as indestructible as the original shield. Again, going back to the comics, Captain America's shield is actually a hybrid of both vibranium and adamantium, which makes it's the vibranium that makes it like, ricochet and absorb energy and stuff, but it's the adamantium that makes it indestructible. Now, obviously, when the MCU started out, they couldn't use adamantium because that's a X-Men metal with Wolverine, so they weren't allowed to use adamantium, and they just went with the vibranium. But anyway, so in the comics, Tony gives Steve, this costume, the Captain costume, and this vibranium shield, and but then ends up clashing with Tony during the Armor Wars, because Tony wants to go around and remove anyone that's using his technology, basically prevent them from using his technology. And one of the places that's using his technology was the Guardsmen, who were guarding the Vault, the super criminal prison at the time. And Steve tries to stop him, and it doesn't go well. Steve fails in stopping him and such. But anyway, I know I'm kind of jumping around, but so it's finally discovered that the Red Skull was behind everything, and eventually Walker and Rogers kind of team up to take out the Skull. Walker actually saves Steve's life from Red Skull, who was about to blow red smoke on him from his cigarette, and then after that, Steve resumes being Captain America, and Johnny Walker gets the Captain outfit and becomes U.S. Agent. U.S. Agent then gets assigned to work for the West Coast Avengers, because U.S. Agent works for the government, the federal government. So to answer your question, he's not a bad guy, but he is kind of a dick. Sometimes, and he varies depending on who's writing the character and stuff, but he's been everything from a bit of a psychotic crazy guy to just a dick in general. But technically he is pretty much a good guy. And he's been on the West Coast Avengers. He's been on Force Works. He's been on Thunderbolts, though he wasn't really. He was like a warden, or he acted as a warden. He lost his leg, but then he got it back. It gets a little confusing from there. But to answer your question, long story short, yes, John Walker really is a good guy, but at times he can be an asshole, and he's he's very patriotic to a point of where he will. Whereas like Steve, if Steve is guided more by what he deems as actually right and wrong, whereas Walker is really kind of goes by this patriotic code, and even if sometimes it's not right, he still does it. John says, "How is Zemo free after Civil War?" I don't know. I'm sure that will be explained at some point in the Falcon and Winter Soldier series. But how does any bad guy get loose once they get put in jail? Hey, Redneck Trekker. It's not syncing. Yeah, I was playing with it right before the video, but I ran out of time, so I didn't get it 100%. Hopefully it's not too out of sync. But thanks for the heads up. Jerry says, "Who's the new Johnny Storm since Michael Jordan and is Killmonger?" Yeah, and Chris Evans is Captain America. Whereas the X-Men, they might bring actors over from the Fox universe. I think it's pretty safe to say with Fantastic Four, they're going to be starting completely over. So we don't know who they've cast, if they've even casted a Johnny Storm yet. But if they have, we don't know who yet. They've done it in secret, but it'll be somebody new, I have no doubt. Coco, he picked to lead the Thunderbolts. Well, he didn't really lead the Thunderbolts per se, unless maybe more recently. Like I tried the last miniseries for U.S. Agent they did. Like I read that Force Works. They tried to bring back Force Works for like a couple issues, and I read that and it was okay. But then there's a new U.S. which is still going now, a new U.S. Agent miniseries, and I tried reading the first issue of that, but I didn't think it was very good, and I have not gone back and like pick. I think it's maybe on issue 3. I haven't read issue 2 yet, but since I don't read comics on a regular basis anymore, things that have happened to like Walker and stuff more recently, I'm not as familiar with. Kyle says we need a Marvel Legends Sharon Carter from the MCU. Well, she's going to be in the Falcon Winter Soldier series, so she's not getting a figure in the first wave of Disney Plus figures, but there should be a second wave of Disney Plus figures coming later in the year, which I have no idea what figures will be in that wave, but I wouldn't be surprised if she ended up showing up in that wave. It'll be like I always felt like she got the shaft because in Civil War, her and Steve were making out and everything, and then Steve goes and runs off back in time and goes after you know, hooks up with Peggy again. So I feel like Sharon got dumped essentially for her relative. And so it'll be interesting to see if there's any bitterness there or what have you for Steve kind of having essentially dumped her. Everett says, "Who do I think the Build-A-Figure for the Disney Plus wave is?" I have no idea. Since we haven't seen enough characters from the Disney Plus wave. Could be anybody. Coco says that Zemo will be loose in Falcon and Winter Soldier because he'll be leading the T-Bolts. I don't know. That would be kind of interesting, but I don't. Not maybe down the road. Like, one thing that's not clear to me with some of these Marvel series is how much longevity do they have planned for them? Obviously, like, you take a series like The Mandalorian, it's a series that's, going to play out for many, many seasons. But like WandaVision, is there a plan to do a second season of WandaVision, or is WandaVision supposed to be just one season? Same thing with Falcon and Winter Soldier. Is it supposed to be just like one season, or are there supposed to be multiple seasons for some of these shows? So I don't know. Warhawk says, with the Walgreens site, do you normally only get one chance to get the figure, then it's gone for good? And you just get to hunt in the store? No. Usually they put them up multiple times. So I think you'll probably get another chance at it. And I got to be honest, I don't think that figure is going to be super hard to get. It is pretty much just the same Silver Surfer that we got before with Thor's hammer, a little bit darker silver color to it. But like, I personally am not getting that figure because I have the first Silver Surfer they did. So I don't plan on getting it. So I really don't think that figure is going to be that hard to get. So I think you'll get another chance at it online. And if you've got a Walgreens near you, I think sooner or later it'll turn up there and you should be able to find it there. Coco says Tom Cruise equals Arno Stark. Kyle says Disney Plus build a figure is Agnes. That would be funny. Oscar says, do I think we will see Red Hulk in She-Hulk? I don't know. I mean, we've got a Thunderbolt in the MCU, but I don't. It's hard to see them making him Red Hulk. I don't know. Maybe. I would say there's a better. If She Hulk ends up having more than one season, I would say there's a better chance of that. I kind of feel like they wouldn't bring Red Hulk into the first season, but who knows? We know so little about that series at this point. Other than obviously, the Hulk's going to be making an appearance in it, but John says, are the Thunderbolts Marvel's version of the Suicide Squad? Not really. Kinda a little bit, but not really. The Suicide Squad is basically where the government took villains and forced them to do black ops missions for them. If they don't, they get their heads blown off, essentially. So, as far as Thunderbolts are bad guys, or people who used to be bad guys, and that's really the only similarity between them and Suicide Squad. But the original idea of the Thunderbolts was Baron Zemo got these group of basically, the Avengers. This took place around the time of Heroes Reborn, where a lot of the superheroes basically disappeared because they were whisked off into a different dimension, and so there was this kind of hole of lack of heroes around. So Zemo got this idea where he got all these bad guys and basically had them take on new personas as good guys and become heroes, and so they weren't, they didn't work for the government, at least not originally. Now maybe it's changed a little bit over the years. Luke Cage ended up Hawkeye took over for a while after Zemo got outed. Essentially, Zemo got outed as and continued to be a bad guy, and but the rest of them, or most of the rest of them, decided they wanted to continue to be good guys, and so they stuck with their superhero personas that they had created for the Thunderbolts, and then Hawkeye took over the team for a while, and then Luke Cage took over the team for a while, and at some point maybe they got somewhat more of a government connection, but and I think Zemo came back at some point, but do we know if Darcy or Jimmy dusted? I wonder if they did. Oh, no, we don't really know whether they blinked out. I want to say they didn't, but we don't know that for sure. I think there's like a running joke that Jimmy learned a card trick, didn't dust out because he was busy learning Ant-Man's card trick or something. Redneck Trucker says he's not really into the multiverse stuff for either Marvel or DC. That's why I quit buying DC comics back in the day. Lazy writing, in my opinion. Yeah, it's not really a favorite thing of mine either. I agree with you, DC. It got a little ridiculous, and I never read like the Ultimates comics for Marvel. Um, so it, it has its uses sometimes, but it definitely can get overplayed. But really, when you think about time travel, it's hard. If you're going to have time travel, you almost have to have a multiverse, because essentially, anytime you do anything that deviates from the original timeline, you create a alternate reality, and that's essentially a multiverse. So it's kind of hard not to have time travel in some form of a multiverse. Henry G, on a side note, what is my opinion of the Masters of the Universe Origins line? I think it's a decent line. I mean, if you're a fan of the original toys, of the original '80s toys, then I think it's a nice nod to that with a little bit updated articulation. But they are very similar to those original toys. I prefer probably Masters of the Universe Classics. However, the lower price point is obviously a little bit nicer. Um, so I, I didn't, as I've said many times, I didn't. Masters of the Universe was not a toy line I collected as a kid. I did always watch the cartoons and stuff, but I never really started collecting Masters stuff until about the 2000 X line. So, but I think it's a nice nod to the original toys. And, like I said, they are cheaper. So that's not a bad thing always. Coco says there are still multiverses without time travel. Well, but it is essentially time travel. I mean, it's kind of like which came first, the chicken or the egg. But essentially, I mean, these multiverses generally spring from divergence in the timeline that create alternate realities. So, and since it's kind of a made up thing, or at least not totally based on anything we know, and it varies from whether it's DC. I mean, they all have them. Star Trek has their own multiverse type thing. Marvel, DC. So Tom says, well, I did watch He-Man. I didn't play with the toys. I didn't collect the He-Man toys. I watched the He-Man cartoon all the time. I watched the She-Ra cartoon all the time when they originally aired. So I watched the cartoons. I just didn't collect the toys. I was into G.I. Joe and Transformers and Star Wars were the three main toy lines I played with as a kid. And I only knew one kid growing up that actually collected Masters of the Universe, so most of my friends didn't play with He-Man either. So there was just not a huge incentive to, between already spending what money I had on things like GI Joe and Transformers, and then really not having any friends who also collected Masters of the Universe. It just was not a toy line that I actually collected. But I always watched the cartoon, both He-Man and She-Ra. So I think I watched She-Ra because of the connection to He-Man. But same thing with Thundercats. I always watched the Thundercats cartoon, but I never collected the toys. And I've been watching recently here. I've gone back and started rewatching all the old Thundercat episodes because they're on Hulu. So kind of recap, trying to build enthusiasm to build up, just convince me to get that tank. Cal says, would I like to see a new shield for Cap toys? I like the one they made for the 2012 movie Cap and the straps, but it was too small. Well, they've got one for the Falcon and Winter Soldier, but I don't plan on, I didn't pick. I got the first movie one. Well, I don't have the Hasbro one. I have another company that made a shield replica, um, which, the straps on that one, same thing, where I don't think it's terribly feasible to make the straps so they can actually fit so you can put the shield on your back. But I didn't get the Hasbro movie one, but I did get the Hasbro comic book based one. Um, but I didn't get, and I don't plan on getting the Falcon and Winter Soldier one, which is too similar to the first Captain America, movie one that they did. Coco says at the time Joe's were my number one. Yeah, so as a kid, I went from Star Wars. Star Wars was the first action figure line that I got as a kid. I won't say collected because I got them to play with, but that was the first line, and I basically did the Star Wars thing up through Return of the Jedi. I didn't get the original. I had stopped collecting Star Wars stuff by the time they got to the Power of the Force stuff with the coins. I didn't really collect any of those. And then I got into the G.I. Joe cartoon, which then got me into the toy line. And I remember my first G.I. Joe toys I got at a Walgreens store, which was the snake armor and a grunt figure. Those were my first two G.I. Joe toys that I bought as a kid. And then I actually started reading the Transformer comics. I watched the cartoon too, but it was really more, I think, the comics. I had picked up some of the comic book. I was sick one time and we went in to the drugstore to get a prescription filled, and I ended up getting the Transformer comics, like that first limited series that Marvel did. And I thought that was really good, and that really kind of got me hooked on Transformers even more. All right, sorry. I don't know. Thing popped up saying OBS got disconnected, so I don't know what happened there, but it says we're reconnected. So hopefully there wasn't an interruption on your end. But anyway, so my first Transformer toys was Optimus Prime and Optimus Prime and Megatron, which I got at another drugstore called a Super X, which was a local drugstore. So it's funny how a lot of toys I bought as a kid were at drugstores. MK Solid says, feel like toys are just getting too expensive. Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, they are. And unfortunately, with these things, the prices only go up. You know, the only way they go down is if the quality goes down, and that makes the toys crappy. So, yeah. And eventually, you know, it's why I quit collecting comic books. I was a diehard comic book collector growing up, but they're just way too expensive nowadays. I don't think the quality is very good on them anymore either. But the main thing is just the price. You know, $5 for a comic book is ridiculous. Oscar, how old is my cat? Salome here is going on about 2 years. She was a kitten when I got her, not last year, but the year before. So she was maybe 7 months years old when I got her. So she's probably going on about 3 years old now. Coco, remember Spider-Man issue 4 of Transformers? Yes. Actually, it was issue 3, I believe. Where he's on the cover, he's in a black costume, and he's wrapping himself, or he's swinging around Megatron. I have that issue, and GI Joe appeared in an issue of Amazing Spider-Man during the Secret Wars 2 crossover event. The Beyonder turned a skyscraper into gold, and GI Joe was actually called in to basically transport the gold. They didn't really refer to them as GI Joe, but they ended like Hawk and stuff. So Felix says he enjoyed his GI Joes with Kung Fu grip. What non-MCU movie Marvel character would you like to see in Marvel Legends? When you say non-MCU movie, I assume you mean like what comic book character I would like to see? Well, I think my number one would be an updated version of U.S. Agent. Kyle wants a Jennifer Gardner Elektra figure. I don't see that happening, but who knows? All right, so final topic of the night: Spider-Man 3. Keeping our theme. Speaking of Elektra, so main thing I want to talk about was Tom Holland in a recent interview with Esquire says that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, to his knowledge, will not be in Spider-Man 3 despite all the rumors. I don't know. I don't think he's lying. I don't think he's deliberately lying. I do think it's possible the studio, since he has this knack for revealing spoilers, might be keeping it from him. So I wouldn't say that because Holland at this point doesn't know that they're in the movie doesn't necessarily mean they're not in the movie. But it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I think if they're going to do this multiverse story with these villains from other Spider-Man movies, they really do need to bring in Toby and Andrew. And there's rumors of Daredevil appearing in the show, or Matt Murdock at least, from the Netflix. Charlie Cox has been rumored to be on the set of the Spider-Man 3 movie. So I hope that ends up being true. I want to see Daredevil. I like Charlie Cox's Daredevil, so I'm really hoping they bring him into the MCU. Even though I always thought he was in the MCU, and then it seemed like maybe he wasn't. So that always got confusing to me, whether the Netflix Marvel shows were technically part of the MCU or not. Yeah, originally, there was references to the Battle of New York and everything from the first Avengers movie, but then it seemed like they kind of moved away from that. So I don't know. Redneck Trekker, Star Trek: The Next Generation meets the X-Men live action movie, epic. Well, they did a comic book series and a novel of that. But I think, again, going back to WandaVision, I think she created this crack in the multiverse, which will then continue on into the Spider-Man movies and then play out in the Doctor Strange movie. That's how I see that going. I like, I feel like my biggest thing about the MCU right now is I feel like there needs to be, I don't mind if there's not another Captain America solo movie or another Iron Man solo movie, but I feel like there needs to continue to be Avengers movies. I don't think the MCU can ride on the back of Eternals and some of these other franchises, Shang-Chi. Those characters are just not strong enough, in my view, to, really keep the Marvel universe going. So I feel like they really need to keep doing Avengers movies. I don't think I don't think people forgot about the Morbius movie, but it keeps getting delayed. So, well, I know how the stuff was run, but I'm just saying in the Netflix shows there were definitely references. Obviously, the characters from the Netflix shows never appeared or were referenced in the movies, but the shows themselves definitely referenced events from the movies, at least a little bit. So to me, that makes it part of the MCU. It's not like the 20th Century Fox X-Men universe, which was a totally separate thing, to me. But how they're actually going to incorporate those characters, I don't know. Well, right. I mean, Disney definitely wanted to quit, once they started their own streaming service, wanted to pull everything onto their own streaming service. So again, I get why the Netflix stuff ended, but to me, it was just never clear whether those characters are supposed to be part of the MCU or they're somehow different. Um, and I'm sure at some point they will explain that or try and explain it at least. Well, Jerry, I mean, I could think of a number of ways you could top Infinity War. I mean, especially when you start bringing characters like Doctor Doom, and you might introduce Galactus, something along those lines. There's multiple ways. Fantastic Four. I mean, I definitely want to see at some point X-Men and Avengers and probably Fantastic Four all in one movie. Does it have to be an X-Men versus Avengers? No, but definitely at some point I would want to see all those characters brought in to, combat some immensely powerful threat. Um, if they did an X-Men versus Avengers, I think it would be similar to how they did like Civil War, where it would just be like a one movie thing. Oh, you're right, Kyle. Well, but Agents of Shield was pretty much part of the MCU. Again, other than Agent Coulson being in the first round of Marvel movies, but once he went to Agents of Shield, he never really was ever seen. Well, not counting Captain Marvel, but they always, like every time a movie would come out, they would always tie it into Agents of Shield, or Agents of Shield would tie the events of the movies into the series. So Agents of Shield, I think, definitely was part of the MCU, even though the Agents of Shield characters never appeared in any of the movies other than Coulson. I think Agents of Shield was definitely part of the MCU. Right, Sif was there. I mean, like there was references to Avengers Infinity War and like Thanos' ships showing up in the atmosphere in Agents of Shield. So even though we didn't see, Agents of Shield appear in Avengers Infinity War or anything, there was definitely some connections there. So, they had the Galvatronic, whatever, the guy who uh, controls gravity in Agents of Shield, Graviton or whatever his name was. Bullwinkle says he just wants a decent Hulk movie. You'll be curious if we ever get another Hulk movie. There's, occasionally you hear rumblings that they're thinking about doing another Hulk movie, but I don't know because I guess technically it's still owned by a different studio. I don't know if we'll actually see a standalone Hulk movie again. She-Hulk, the She-Hulk series might be as close as we get to that. Who wouldn't want to see a Kazar movie? Warhawk says, "Does Edward Norton even make movies anymore?" Yeah, he still makes movies occasionally. He did one a couple years ago. Had Bruce Willis in it. I think the problem with the Hulk movie is it didn't perform that strongly. So I guess they've been hesitant to do another one. And because, it's a cross between the two studios, that makes it more difficult. I think if Marvel, if Disney had the outright rights to Hulk, then they probably would. But I'm all for a 4 hour movie if they bring them all together. I don't see them doing a 4 hour movie. They'd split it up into two parts like they did Infinity War and Endgame. Jerry says, "I think people don't like a CGI character." Well, definitely early on, I think that hurt. And even like, the Edward Norton Hulk movie. But CGI has gotten so good these days. I mean, it's almost hard to tell the difference. So I don't think that's a huge hurdle for them anymore. But honestly, I think Hulk would be a better TV series than a movie. Um, because when you do just a movie, it basically just comes about Hulk going around destroying things and then trying to find an opponent that's strong enough to take him on, which is hard to do. Same kind of problem you see with like Superman. So I feel like Hulk is a better character that would be better suited for a TV series where you could, slowly develop the character and stuff. And like we're gonna see Abomination return in the She-Hulk series, so that'll be interesting. Kyle says he really loves the inner conflict and fugitive angle of the Incredible Hulk. Coco Carl Creel. So Creel was in Agents of Shield. I I like I like honestly for Hulk I like smart Hulk. I like a smart Hulk. Like my favorite comics run of Hulk was the Peter David days where he was smart. So I tend to prefer. I don't know, the smart Hulk in Endgame I guess was okay, but like in the comics I definitely kind of prefer a smarter Hulk than the brute savage dumb Hulk. Kyle says he's nervous about handling of Abomination and She-Hulk since Feige said it's a comedy. Well, keep in mind that She-Hulk is very similar to like Deadpool. So, I don't really consider Deadpool a comedy, but it definitely has funny moments and it's not, serious like most superhero movies. So, I think that's what he means with She-Hulk because again, She-Hulk is a very similar character like when she's in her own comics at least. That's kind of how they've made her. So I definitely think it can still be good even with that kind of formula. But I don't think when he says it's a comedy, I don't think he literally means like a comedy, like a sitcom or something like that. I think it's going to be done very similar to like they do Deadpool. Did I see the project of the Hulk series many years ago? The effects were going to be all practical. No, I don't think I recall that. I still go back and watch the original Hulk TV series and those movies that had like Thor and Daredevil. What's up, JJ Prime? We have seen, Slot says, we have seen the Juggernaut in a couple of movies, but I don't feel that they have touched on his magical powers. Well, I agree with you. Juggernaut in the third X-Men movie was pretty stupid. And then Deadpool, Deadpool, I mean, it was more of a kind of a comedic thing. So I didn't dislike Juggernaut in the Deadpool movie, but definitely we didn't get like a lot of seriousness on the character. So I wouldn't mind seeing a more serious take on Juggernaut in the MCU at some point. NK Solid, why didn't we get figures of Red Dead Redemption? Is the Old West being canceled or censored? Don't know. I don't think it's being. Why would the Old West be censored? I heard they're making a new Young Guns movie, which I think is kind of ridiculous since they killed off all the characters in the second movie, but we definitely still get westerns. Yeah, apparently my video and audio is not 100% sync, so sorry about that, JJ Prime. Yeah, I don't know if they're going to pull in any other characters from the Deadpool universe into the next Deadpool movie. It'll be kind of interesting to see. I guess if they're going to start bringing in Fox characters over to the MCU, it's certainly possible we could see like Colossus and Domino. I guess even possibly Thanos, Cable. Redneck Trucker. Forgive my ignorance, Jay. I'm sure you've mentioned your age before, so I think we are close in age. Anyway, how excited were you back in 2000 when X-Men came out? I was ecstatic. Well, I don't remember exactly how excited I was, but I liked the first X-Men movie. I liked the second X-Men movie. I liked the second X-Men movie better than the first. Um, the only thing I didn't like was, I wasn't a fan of the all black leather costumes like many people weren't, but I still thought the movie overall was pretty good. But back then, I mean, superhero movies, while they were pretty, they generated hype, but nowhere near like the MCU movies today do. And I feel like back then DC had more gusto behind it in their movies than Marvel did. But like Blade, Blade kind of ushered in the you know really kind of opened the door for Marvel movies. Marvel really struggled with movies back in the day. I mean, their first real attempt at a movie was Punisher, which was a terrible movie with Dolph Lundgren. It was nothing like the character from the comics. So, and then they kept trying to do movies like Fantastic Four and Captain America, and they never made it to movies. You know, you, they came out, bootleg copies came out on DVD, but I mean, Kyle, back then Marvel ruled the TV and DC ruled the movies, and then things kind of reversed, and DC started ruling TV, and Marvel ruled the movies. Kyle says the early 2000s were all about black costumes, X-Men, GI Joe. Those GI Joe outfits were terrible. I hated them. The thing about the X-Men movies is they would always tease us like, we got that tease for that Wolverine costume that never ended up actually being used. And then they had those X-Men costumes at the end of Age of Apocalypse which were pretty cool, but then, in the next movie they went back to the crappy costume. So Everett says, "Will we get more Marvel Legend Fox figures?" Well, I don't have any intel that would suggest that, but I wouldn't be surprised if some point we did. And obviously a Quicksilver figure. There was that image that passed around last year of a 2-pack of Quicksilver, which was completely made up. But I would say the likelihood of getting at least a Fox Quicksilver figure at some point is has definitely improved significantly. What do I think is going to happen in episode 6 of WandaVision? I think we're probably going to have the Halloween, the where we've seen in the trailers the Halloween, and I think Vision is going to continue to want to try and see what's outside of the town, and Scarlet Witch is going to continue to try and stop him. So I think that's going to be what mostly plays out in the next episode, is my feeling. But I'm sure there'll be, and what they're going to do with Quicksilver, I don't know. Yeah, the first two Blade movies I thought were awesome. I still think they're awesome. The third Blade movie was not that great, but I mean it was okay. But the first two Blade movies were definitely really cool. And like I like the Blade movies better than I did the Spider-Man movies. To be absolutely honest, I didn't hate the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies, but I was out of like X-Men, Spider-Man, Blade. Spider-Man was probably my least favorite. I just thought it was a little bit on the boring side. So, but Blade was probably the most comic accurate out of all those characters too. Of course, we had that Hulk, that one Hulk movie, before the MCU Hulk movie. We had that one Hulk movie. That one was terrible. Jerry says he thinks Vision's going to go through the dome during Trick or Treat. I don't know. I think he'll probably try, but I don't think he'll actually get through the dome until like the season finale. I think that's something that's going to play out in the season finale. I might be wrong on that, but I think he's going to start trying to, but I think they'll probably try and stop him because, like in the trailers, Wanda's like they're trying to destroy our home, and then Vision's like, well, we need to stop them, or we need to fight for our home, or something like that. So I think Wanda's going to convince him that the outside is trying to, basically stop them. But I do think, I think him getting through the dome will happen in the season finale. That's my prediction. Kyle, did I like New Mutants? I actually have not watched that one yet. It didn't look that great to me, so I haven't actually gotten a chance to watch it. Kyle, what about Ghost Rider with Nick Cage? Yeah, that wasn't too good either. I mean, it was okay, but it wasn't great. Yeah, the Ang Lee's Hulk was terrible. Well, yeah, John, the Ghost Rider and Agents of Shield I actually like, so I wouldn't mind seeing that version of Ghost Rider appear again. Warhawk says that Ghost Rider blue chunks. I'm not sure if he's talking about the Nick Cage one or the Agents of Shield one in the movie. Yeah, I mean it was okay. It wasn't. I mean, I don't think Nick Cage made it a very good Ghost Rider, but I mean, it's not a movie I'd go back and watch multiple times. Blade, the first two Blade movies, I can watch. Even today I can go back and rewatch. First two X-Men movies I can go back and rewatch. Most of the later X-Men movies, not so much. Futures Past, Days of Future Past was pretty good, but Bullwinkle says if he goes through the dome, he will be dead. He can't live outside the dome. Well, that's something that remains to be seen. I don't think he'll make it through the dome and be perfectly normal. As I said before, I think he'll end up becoming like an emotionless version of himself, at least for a while. Maybe even all white or something, like in the comics. Everett, I don't know anything about a Juggernaut and Colossus 2 pack. It'd be cool, but I don't know if that's something Hasbro would do or not. Why did people hate the Ben Affleck Daredevil, Elektra, Punisher movies? I thought they were cool. Guess getting out of classes was the reason. Jared Daredevil, I don't know, just wasn't that. It was okay. I mean, it wasn't horrible, but I think the Netflix Daredevil was much better. I actually like the Thomas Jane Punisher movie. I thought that was actually the best Punisher movie that we've gotten. Um, so I did enjoy that one. What's up, Omega? Stickman says Ghost Rider shouldn't drive a car. He's Ghost Rider, not Ghost Driver. I mean, that's something from the comics. I mean, the comics for a while at least, and maybe even still, I think still maybe does, drives a car. I don't know why they switched him to a car. I mean, it's a different version of Ghost Rider. There's been multiple people who have been Ghost Rider, so, the one driving the car was like the third Ghost Rider, so. Lee86. Can you explain more with the tie-in with the show and Magneto? Predictions with him. Well, I don't. I assume you're talking about WandaVision, and I don't know. See, this is the thing with that's not been made clear. So obviously in the comic books, Wanda and Quicksilver are mutants, and at least originally, and maybe it's changed. I get confused on that, but originally, at least, they were the kids of Magneto. But in the MCU, before Disney bought Fox, they basically suggested that Wanda and Quicksilver got their powers from the Mind Stone. And so I don't know, they haven't really done much to explain that in more detail, or how they're going, if they're going to now classify them as mutants now that they can call them mutants. I don't know how that's going to play out. So whether that's something that gets explained in the WandaVision series, and even in the Fox universe, they made indications that Quicksilver was related to Magneto, but they never actually specifically said he was related to Magneto. So, and then they never even mentioned Scarlet Witch in the Fox universe. So, how all that's going to play out, I don't know. And I'm not even sure if, at least for right now, they're really going to touch on that much. Um, but we'll have to see. Yeah, I, I've seen indications that they change, I guess with the Inhuman thing or something, which I've not read any of those stories, so I don't know. I don't even know how Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver are classified in the comics these days. So Redneck Trucker. Switching to GI Joe for a second. Do you think Hasbro would do a classic Joe 6-inch line like Red Transformer line? Mm, well, I mean, the thing about Transformer Red is they don't transform. But do I think will they go and make like classified figures in their classic costumes? Well, I mean, they've started to do that more and more. Like Flint, Lady J look pretty true to their original selves. So, but will they go back and do Duke again or Scarlet? I don't know, maybe. But I do feel like going forward, at least, they probably will stick a little bit closer to their original looks than like coming up with totally different designs. John Estrada, they confirmed Peter was Magneto's son in Apocalypse. Well, I mean, at one point, they were going to make Peter Parker a mutant, but then I think they changed their mind. Raw Talk, Raw Deal says the Mind Stone unlocked the mutant abilities is how it'll be explained in the movies. Yeah, that's a plausible theory, I think. And I could even see them going as far as saying the mind, like there's been all these mutants, but they like their abilities were locked away or something, and the Mind Stone, essentially Wanda will end up using the Mind Stone in some way to unlock all the mutants' abilities around the world or something. I could see that maybe them doing something along those lines. Like I feel like all the I keep seeing people referencing House of M with the WandaVision series, and I feel like Wanda wiped out in the comics. She wiped out, when Marvel decided they wanted to clean house and get rid of all these mutants that they had created. They basically used Wanda to get rid of them all. But I feel like in the MCU it would be the reverse. They're going to use Wanda to create the mutants, not get rid of them. So Lee 86, are the Joes done with exclusives? I fell off the line and thought I heard something. No, they're not done with exclusives. Exclusives, no matter how much you hate them, are always going to be part of these action figure lines. That's just the reality of the industry. But I mean, in truth, I don't know. Just this morning, I found 2 Cobra Vipers on the shelf at my local Target. So I feel like they are improving a little bit the distribution. Now, can you go into any Target and expect to find these figures sitting on the shelf? No, unfortunately not. But I do feel like they are continuing to ship these out. So they're becoming a little bit easier to get. And hopefully that will improve as things go along. But there will always be exclusives no matter what. No matter how much we complain, no matter how much we say we hate them, that's just the reality. And by the way, Sunday I plan on giving this one. This one I'm keeping, but this one, or one of these I'm keeping, and one I'm going to give away on Sunday in Sunday's live stream. So be sure to check back for that. MK Solid. I have no idea since we've got no details on that Redeemer figure. I mean, McFarlane will probably do 20 versions of it, so possibly one of them will be gold label, but all right, it's after 9 o'clock, so I think it is time to wrap up today's live stream, but I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Always appreciated. Again, I am planning on doing a live stream on Sunday, probably around the same time, 7:30, 8-ish Eastern time. Going to do a trivia contest where we give away the Viper and a Krang. So hopefully you guys will tune in for that. This coming Friday, Hasbro's going to be doing a live stream for Power Rangers. And so I'll probably do a regular news video on Friday. Next Friday, not this Friday, but the following Friday, I'm guessing there's going to be some Marvel reveals from Hasbro. I'm guessing it'll probably be done via a live stream. They haven't announced a live stream yet, but I'm guessing there will be a live stream on the 19th. Definitely we should be getting some Marvel Legend reveals on the 19th, so you'll want to tune in for that. But that's it for now. Again, thanks guys for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And as always, I will catch you later.
Hey, thanks for watching today's video, and be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that bell notification so alerted every time I upload a new video. And be sure to head over to the Toy News International and Marvelous News message boards communities. It's a great place to talk toys and win cool contests like $100 store credits to Big Bad Toy Store. And remember, action figures are great.